Okay, hello everybody. So today we have an OD-2, a Boss OD-2 on the bench. As you can see, I've already opened it up and I've done some probing around and stuff. So a lot of the voltages are okay on this. If you look in the schematic here, it explicitly calls out, let's see, 9 volts here, 8.2 volts there, 5.6 volts there, 2.5 volts there. So it looks like we're okay on the voltage standpoint, so it just looks like a signal thing. A couple days ago, I developed this little signal generator box thing, where you plug in some sort of 1/4-inch jack, and the output is just like a kind of like a sine wave. It's really a triangle wave that is filtered to be a sine wave, but how that works is another story. What the whole purpose of this is just to inject a signal into a pedal that's not working, and hopefully we can trace that signal throughout the entire pedal and figure out what's wrong with it. So I have the schematic up for you guys because we're going to kind of go through this and see how this sort of works. So this input comes in and it hits a buffer here. So this right here is just a very simple buffer, and it goes, the signal should go through here, and then through this capacitor. Now over at this point, it gets the signal is basically, there's two directions that it can go in. It can go through Q7 over here, or it can go through Q4 down here. And really what Q4 acts as is like a bypass. So the signal can either bypass the whole circuit and go right to the output, and the output is also buffered. So there's two buffers basically in the way of the signal. This thing is not true bypass. Or it can go through Q7 up here. And the whether or not it goes through bypass or through Q7 over here, well, that is all related to this flip-flop circuit, which I've done a blog post about in the past. We're not going to get into exactly how that works today, but just know that it can go two directions. Next, we have this sort of differential pair going on here. So how does this work? Well, let's see. We have our signal that comes in from Q7, and it can go two ways. So let's talk about the top area here first. It hits Q3, and Q3 amplifies it, and the signal is then taken at the collector and goes straight to Q15 over here. Q15 buffers that signal, and then we take it over here, and it actually gets fed back into Q14, and that modulates or sort of affects the bias point over here. So there's some sort of like feedback mechanism that's happening between Q13, 14, and 15 with the signal. But ultimately, the signal comes out of the looks like the collector of Q15 through C29 over here. This is all like filter stuff, some filtering components, it looks like. And we go to another differential pair, Q11 over here. It gets amplified again, gets buffered through this Q12 up here, comes back around and hits Q10, and the same sort of feedback mechanism that was in there. So it looks like there's two gain stages to this pedal. And over here it's voltage divided down, it looks like, by this voltage divider. And so we can expect to see a signal here, but not as large as the input. It then goes through more filtering. It looks like this is some sort of shelving filter, some low pass shelving, and another filter here, but this is mainly just for bypassing or biasing the JFET over here, so that's just for that. But it goes through Q16. Q16 is another one of those JFET switching transistors. I'm trying to look at where this comes from. This comes from down here, and we have this kind of inverter. So this transistor down here, Q21, acts as an inverter. And where is that signal coming from? It comes from this switch over here. So this is related to the turbo switch And then where would the other signal go? It would go right here. So Q17. So when turbo switch is off, this turns on, and no current flows, it looks like. So one of these turns on when turbo is off, and one of them turns off when turbo is on. Well, let's get through this signal up here. So we have Q16. This is a JFET. It goes into here, goes into this tone control, into this level, comes out, and we go through this JFET at Q3, and then out the output. So that's where the signal path is on the top there. Another way that this signal can go is down through C31 down here, and then into the same sort of bypass or feedback arrangement as we saw up there with Q18, Q19, and Q20. They're both connected to this drive pot, and that's just to be able to use the same knob for both modes. So that's nice. Then this signal comes from this clipping stage here. It goes to Q17. It comes out at the C35 where it goes through the same tone control, the same level control, comes out and out through the output. So those are the signal paths that our signal will take through the circuit, and we're gonna figure out what's wrong with it and what we can do to fix it. So maybe this is why the check lamp will work. You see this thing? This is like cut in half. Alright, so we'll replace this, we'll replace the battery connector, and we'll test it out. And now for everyone's favorite part. We go to equipboard.com and we see who uses the Boss Turbo Overdrive OD-2. So, go over here, we see that there are 28 artists that pop up, although much of these are kind of up for debate, but we are going to, well, I picked a few that I know that use them. So, here's the first guy, David Lynch, the creator of Twin Peaks. He uses some, and let's see. So I did a little dive on here, and it turns out that David Lynch recorded this album, the studio album, Blue Bob. It's like a blues, like industrial blues type of vibe, and he recorded this with audio engineer John Neff. And in the linked article from Equipboard, here is an excerpt from this article. So one of Neff's favorites is the Boss OD-2 overdrive pedal, which he uses for an overdriven tube amp simulation effect. It's predictable, he explains. I can run it in an amp that's set clean and not too loud so it doesn't kill us in the studio. I use a nice predictable setting on the overdrive, but then when you kick it into turbo, it really cooks. So this is what he said about the OD-2, and this was done in 2001, in summer 2001. This album was released in December 2001. Also, Jerry Garcia came up as well. It seems like the third photo down right here, right behind him, there's like a cool little graphic detailing, which pedals are where in his lineup. And it doesn't state the OD-2 is in here. It states the OD-1, but it doesn't state that it was the OD-2. But the OD-1 looks different than the OD-2. This has the 4 knobs on it in the corner here, just like this one does. And the OD-1, I believe, has 3 knobs. Let me just make sure that's the case. Yeah, so the Boss OD-1 actually has 2 knobs on it. So that is, so that's the case for the OD-1. But it's very possible that he could have had it on his board at that time. And this was taken in, at least the Equipboard thing here says, mid to late 80s or early 90s pedal rig. So, it's alleged at this point. Okay, so that's Jerry Garcia. Next we have Johnny Marr of the Smiths, and this was the article that was linked at Equipboard. And let me just read this to you. So the question is, so while in the Smiths, what Boss effects were in the pedal board? And he says, I had the yellow OS2 overdrive distortion pedal, the OD-2 overdrive pedal. That's how I got the riff to the Smiths song London, sings riff. Sings riff. I had the CE2 chorus pedal, the white GE6, the BF2, very first gray reverb pedal that came out, the RV2. He still owns it, and it sounds very good. So that is Johnny Marr's interview with Roland, actually, with Roland themselves. And here is the Smiths song London, and so apparently he used the OD-2 in this song. So those are a bunch of guitarists and artists that have used the OD-2 or allegedly used the OD-2 in their recordings or live performances. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.